you, and I wouldn't want to be you.
Aha! Showtime! Welcome to the party, pal! Say hello to my little friend! Here's Johnny! Who's the best?
Put that cookie down!
What's in the box? Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
This is Video Store Clerks. Welcome to the store.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. This is the Video Store Clerks Podcast. We're here with you again because it's Tuesday night, and Tuesday night means it's time for our live stream in which we hang out and we talk about movies that we love. We are your clerks for the evening. I'm Dave.
Chad,
Yo, I'm Nino Leisure.
Nice. And we deep undercover. That's right. Because tonight's movie is a clerk's pick. It's Nino Leisure's pick, in fact. That's right. We're going back to the 90s once again. This film is a hard-hitting movie that features the feature film directorial debut of one Mr. Mario Van Peebles.
Get off your lazy ass, Michael.
Oh, Jaws 4 reference, everybody. Hope you get it.
Out of the boat and into the streets.
That's right.
He was delivering the cocaine.
He lost his accent and everything. Mario Van Peebles directs a cast that includes Wesley Snipes, Ice-T, Alan Payne, Chris Rock, Judd Nelson, and Mario Van Peebles. That's right. Back to the 90s with 1991's New Jack City. We'll be talking about that tonight. If you're joining us on our live stream, please jump in the chat. Join in on the conversation. Tell us your thoughts on New Jack City. If you have any fun facts, share them with us. We love that. We'll also be showing our random clip of the week later on in the show. We'll see what that is. But first, we will start the show as we always do, and that is with the news.
Motherfucker.
We are KY3 Production, and we'd like the opportunity to visit next production.
They need money for a better set.
In Chad Bain's possession, he has the top 10. These are your top 10 domestic box office champions over this past weekend. Chad Bain, what do we got?
Number 10. In the Lost Lands, first week out, did $1 million.
I'm deep undercover.
Number 9, Rule Breakers, first week out, $1.5 million. Number 8, Mufasa, $1.6 million this week, 12 weeks, $250 million. Number 7, Anora, I guess got the old re-release. $1.7 million this week, 21 weeks total doing. It says 18.3, but I'm like, that can't be right.
Oscar bullshit.
Yes. Bullshit.
Bullshit.
Number 6, Dogman. $3.4 million. 6 weeks doing $88.6 million.
What was it? What was it called?
Dogman. Okay.
Number 5, Paddington in Peru. Did $3.7 million in a row this week. 4 weeks, $36.7 million. Number 4, The Monkey, did $3.9 million this week, doing $31 million the last 3 weeks. I hear pretty decent things about this movie. Number 3, The Last Breath, did $4 million this week, bringing it up to 14.6 the last 2 weeks. With number 2 being Captain America: Brave New World, $8.3 million this week, doing 176 in the last 4. And the new number 1.
Number
Not 1,
stunner.
not 2, not 3, but 17. Mickey 17. First week out. $19 million.
Don't care.
Nope. Nope. What you got?
Yeah. Queen of the Ring didn't do so well. $300,000 at the bottom.
It had a limited release, didn't it?
I thought it got a wide release on the 7th, but maybe not. It couldn't have. I mean, good God. So I would like to see that movie. But
I've heard good things, but one of the people told me that if you're not like really into wrestling, that it's not going to really pique your interest. It's more about the territories and everything like that back in the day. So if you're not really big into wrestling, that might not be your thing. So I don't know. There's a good audience for wrestling. I don't know. We'll see.
I don't know what's up. In other news, Amazon, of course, recently gained all the rights to the James Bond franchise. My first thought was female James Bond incoming, but Amazon has stated that James Bond will remain male and British, but we'll see.
So if it was a female, would it be Jane Bond?
Jamie, something.
I'm Bond. Jane Bond. It just doesn't have the same feel. I don't know.
They promise they're not going to do it, but
I mean, it depends on who does it. You know, if you had a James Bond as a female, I don't know. I don't know who would be the shit in that role. I don't know. I'd have to think on that.
And also, director Christopher Nolan is at the top of their list to direct the next James Bond movie. So,
of course.
Yeah.
In Marvel news, Disney Plus will be releasing a Punisher special here soon.
Oh, right. And
actor John Berthel says that Punisher will be dark, no Punisher light. He promises. We're getting a lot of promises here, people.
Well, they didn't. They'd be fucked up.
Yeah. Speaking of John Bernthal, they just did the premiere for The Accountant 2 down at South by Southwest this past weekend, I believe.
It's supposed to be really good.
Yeah, I didn't mind the first Accountant movie. You know, Ben Affleck, John Bernthal, Anna Kendrick. Not bad. We'll see.
Mm-hmm. In other Marvel news, Scarlett Johansson has recently stated there is no chance in hell that Black Widow will ever return to the MCU. I don't know why I said no chance.
No chance.
That's what you got.
That's what you got.
You remember Michael Bay?
No.
Director Michael Bay? Well, Michael Bay is planning an Armageddon Part 2, leaving millions of people to ask why.
Starring Donald Trump. Oh!
Canceled.
And finally, actor Alan Ritchson, that's currently starring in the Reacher TV series. Is that streaming on Amazon?
Yeah.
Right. Amazon. I saw the first season. It was actually pretty good, but I just kind of fell off after that.
I've been watching it week to week. It's good.
But the actor has recently told Warner Brothers that he would play the Batman for free in the new DC universe that will be starting in July with the new Superman movie.
I mean, he was Aquaman in Smallville.
Oh, yeah, he was. Back in the day.
That was like his 3rd or 4th role.
Yeah, really God damn it. Man. Really slow news week this week. I guess they hit us so hard last week, they decided to give us a break.
Yeah, we needed a little R&R on that shit.
Yeah, because last week was pretty bad, and I don't want to do that again.
No.
Well, one of the things I had put in the group chat earlier, Christina Ricci got her star on the Walk of Fame. How about that?
Oh, yeah.
Some good news.
There we go. Let's end with that one. Perfect. Another one really overdue that you're like, when you hear they're getting a star, you're like, man, that person doesn't have a star yet. Like, you know, Christina, like John Carpenter and Michael Keaton and Tim Burton, people like that. You're like, man, they didn't have a star already. Strange.
It's surprising because if you walk down that Walk of Fame and you see some of the names, you're like, what the fuck? because there's definitely people, it's kind of like the WWE Hall of Fame where you're sitting there saying, okay, why is this person in and this person ain't? Because this don't make no sense. That's how it is. But another thing that a lot of people don't know when it comes to the Walk of Fame, you can actually pay to get your star on the Walk of Fame, and a lot of people just don't do that because they'd rather earn it. So
yeah, I mean, that seems like the cheap way out.
Yeah.
Although it's probably expensive.
But yeah, there's requirements, like you got to do so much in order to be able to pay to have the star. You can't, like, I can't just go over there and be like, hey man, let me get one of them stars. Here's $25K, bam, I'm on the Walk of Fame. No, you have to have some kind of credentials, but you can just pay for it if you feel like they're never going to honor you. So
Interesting. Oh, there you have it. That's the news. We'll get away from that. Let's hop in our time machine and go back to 1991, March 1991.
Yeah, almost to the day. What, it was like March 8th it premiered worldwide?
Yeah, I believe so. March 8th, 1991. After a short stint in
a long ass time ago.
It premiered in Sundance in the January before 1991, and was released in the U.S. on March 8th, 1991, and did quite well. $8 million budget, brought in $47 million just in the U.S. So powerful movie, big hit, New Jack City. Mike, this was your pick for this week. Why'd you give us this one?
Man, this is one of the films that takes me back. Whenever I first got into hip hop, it was like on my to-do list. Hip hop introduced a whole new world. What's that?
Said to sell crack.
To sell crack. Yeah. I went out and immediately became a crack dealer. No, for real though. For my teenage years, hip hop was one of the biggest influences in my life. And whenever I was first introduced to it, it opened a whole new world for me. You know what I mean? It was like growing up as a white kid in Western Maryland in the mountains, you didn't see that kind of shit. And this was, 90s, 80s, 90s. So there was no internet. You didn't, anything you knew that was going on the West Coast or in New York or wherever, inner cities, it was shit that was coming from the TVs. So, any kind of news media, they're going to spin it the way they want to, especially back in the day. There was no love for the inner cities. It's been a struggle for decades. And once I got my eyes kind of open to this whole new culture and everything, I just got, anytime I get obsessed with something or I become infatuated with something, I just dive into it like head first and fucking I want to know everything. It's like, I start listening to hip hop and I want to go back and I want to learn the roots of it and everything like that. And then, you got films like New Jack City, Boys in the Hood, Menace to Society, the list goes on and on. There's so many different films that represent the inner cities and that culture, and they tell a story. And that was the thing that drew me in to this hip hop inner city culture, was that all these people were telling their stories, and these stories were real. It wasn't like made up bullshit that you hear now in hip hop where it's just like, I'm just going to say whatever the fuck I want to try to get attention, try to make money. These people were telling a real story about their lives and what they were going through. And one of the biggest things, especially with New Jack City, like Chad said, the crack epidemic, it was something that a lot of people, especially any of our younger viewers, they didn't live through it. So they might not understand how it was, but it was a completely different time back then. I mean, they might be able to relate. There's a lot of people that can relate with the opioid crisis going on, but it was different with the crack epidemic because it affected Black neighborhoods and the inner cities more so than anyone. And we'll get more into that later on. But this is one of the films that really tackled that whole epidemic head on. You didn't really see it in any other films. It really got national attention probably around 86. But 91 rolls around, and this is the first film to really deep dive into it and kind of show you a real depiction of how it was and how these places in the inner cities look like war zones. Man, you had people walking around that look like zombies. You go back to Public Enemy, nice Night of Living Baseheads and all that. That's how it was for real. And it was a very serious thing. You know, I know we like to have fun and joke around on here a lot, but I think we're gonna have a little bit more serious tone tonight. We're gonna have some fun, but at the same time, we're gonna talk a little bit about history and everything that went on during that time. So we'll go into that a little bit further. But yeah, this film is one of the ones that stands out. You know, it's definitely one of those ones that is on everybody's list, you know, when it comes to any kind of hood classic. And you know, it just did a great job of representing that time. And if anything, it was a huge launching pad for a number of actors, you know, and we'll get into the cast here shortly. But yeah, amazing film. And, you know, I felt like it was definitely one of those times because, you know, my picks, you know, I picked Quick and the Dead and Death of Smoochie. So I've been kind of trying to jump around to genres and kind of, you know, stuff that stands out to me coming up, you know, from the 90s. So, and this is one of them I felt definitely we needed to do to talk about.
Yeah, for sure. And like you said, this is one of the more serious, if not the most serious movie I think we've ever covered.
Maybe
on this channel.
I know the one night when we did Ice Cube night, we touched on Boys in the Hood, you know, and like I said, that kind of goes in the same spectrum of films. So, but other than that, I don't know. I can't think of anything as serious and as important.
So Boys in the Hood came out, what, 6 months before this or after?
Oh man, I'd have to look it up.
So it was right around the same time.
It was about the same time. I think it was after.
Huh?
I think it was after. I think it was in July. Yeah, July 2nd, 1991.
Yeah, I mean, like it's like whenever like they just finally came out and actually like kind of told the world like the real life situation of what's going on in the cities.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was sort of this new age of blaxploitation films where it showed, you know, like Mike said, you know, a couple white guys growing up in Western Maryland. We didn't know all this stuff was going on. And then when we see these movies for the first time, it's like, holy shit. Then
and you mentioned blaxploitation, you know, with Mario Van Peebles, you know, his dad was one of the pioneers of blaxploitation, and Melvin Van Peebles. You know, most probably his biggest work, you know, was Sweetback's Badass Song. You know, if you ever seen that movie, you know what's up. But so, you know, I think, and that film was actually his film debut for Mario, because he played a younger version of his dad. So yeah, their family is definitely rooted in blaxploitation, and it's one of those ones where, you know, it you know, opens jobs and it brings new actors, a number of black actors that are getting to have that center stage. They're not playing backseat roles. They're not having these stereotypical roles. You're actually getting to see black actors be represented in the proper way. So, you know, props for that.
And Chad mentioned that Mario Van Peebles had a relationship with Clint Eastwood, and that kind of led him to sit at the director's chair for this film, because I believe he just wanted to star in it or just have a part in it.
Well, he wanted to direct it, but they didn't want him.
Oh, so it was the other way. Okay.
So Clint talked to the company and was like, "Look, give the kid a shot."
Yeah.
And then the rest is history.
That's what the story is that MVP worked with on Heartbreak Ridge back in like '86 or something like that.
Yeah.
And you know, this was, like we said, MVP's first directorial debut for a feature film. You know, he'd done some TV stuff. What's up?
You keep saying MVP and I keep thinking about the fucking wrestler.
It's just easier to say it and over and over again. But yeah,
we hurt people.
But yeah, it was his feature film debut, and I think the studios were kind of hesitant, you know, especially, you know, when you have, you know, Wesley Snipes had been around a little bit. He'd done Major League, done other little bit parts, Mo Better Blues, but this was his first leading role. So whenever the studios got this film on their desk, they're like, okay, we're talking about dealing with a director who hasn't done a feature film before, and a lead that hasn't been a lead before. So they were, Eastwood put in the word for MVP. and the rest is history.
Yeah, because they said, like, I guess they, like, when Wesley Snipes did the Bad short with Michael Jackson, that's what kind of like gave them the whenever they just kind of decided they wanted him to play Nino, because just like the way he acted in that little short for the Bad video.
Yeah.
And another one who took a chance was Ice-T.
Oh yeah, for sure. You know, and he's talked about that in interviews where you know he thought this was going to be career suicide for him.
Yeah.
Done stuff. He'd worked on Breaking 2 and a few other things, but you know, this was, man, this was one of the godfathers of gangster rap.
Yeah.
Doing a role as a cop.
Yeah.
So the irony there, you know, it tells a story in itself. But for sure, you know, he was very hesitant. You know, you looking at any interviews, he was actually scared to take this role. He was like, you know, is this going to be career suicide for me? You know, what's going to happen? And so many people were like, nah, man, you gotta do this film, because you know, if you know anything about Ice-T, man, and we'll get more into Ice-T because I definitely want to talk about him. I know you guys talked about him some whenever you did Surviving the Game. Yeah. And I wasn't on that episode, so I definitely want to speak my piece about Ice-T. But he's
the hip hop staple,
for real, and he is one of the realest cats you'll ever meet. You see any kind of interview or anything with him, and he is just so eloquent in the way he speaks. He's not like Dave. Sorry, Dave. But no, he's very well spoken. He's a very smart man. And you know, whenever he had talked to a lot of his friends about this role coming up, they were saying like, look, man, I know you're going to play a cop, but you know, everybody knows you're not a cop. You're the farthest thing from a cop, and you're going to keep it 100. So, you know, this is a huge opportunity for you. And I think a lot of people looked at it. It was like, hey, if T can make it out there, you know, it's going to help us too, because, you know, if once somebody else breaks in, it allows opportunities for, you know, their friends and everything like that. So it was an opportunity he wanted to seize, and I think he ended up making the right choice.
Yeah, because he said, like, whenever he talked to his like boys about it, and he's like, I don't know, he's like, let me play a cop, and they were like, you fucking got to. He was like, and then they were like, think you can give me a role in a movie?
Yeah. It was like they didn't care, you know, if his role was going to be a cop or whatever. It was like, hey, man, you're going to be a Hollywood movie, big time. You know,
he's been a cop the last 20 years.
For real. SVU, man. So this shaped his future.
Yeah. But it was funny because I saw like Wesley Snipes actually wanted to play Scotty's part. Like he wanted the role of Scotty. So that's when I was talking to Dave about that, and I'm like, well, they could have just fucking maybe switched roles, and then T could have been fucking Nino, and then Wesley could have been Scotty. But they said that they just kind of like just really wanted Wesley Snipes to be Nino.
Yeah. And you know, he knocks this role out of the park. You know, like we said, this is his first leading role, and you would think this guy had been doing it for years. You know, and that's a testament to Wesley Snipes, his charisma and his ability to just stand out on screen like no other, you know, and that it just launched him into superstardom. You know, all the films that came afterwards, you know, were a result of this film.
Yeah, I think the film we did after this was Drop Zone.
Another favorite of our boy. Yeah, we forgot to mention old Chuck Nasty ain't in the house tonight.
Yeah, Chuck, he went on hiatus.
He's returning some videotapes.
He just had some things going on, so and he wasn't feeling well, so he'll be back hopefully next week. Because next week will be our 150th episode, so it should be fun.
It's gonna be a fun one, that's for sure.
Be a good time.
And I still can't talk. I still can't do this.
It happens.
Sorry, Chuck.
You're crazy, Dave.
I'm a anxiety-ridden white boy from the mountains. You're lucky you get this out of me. But yeah, like as Wesley Snipes and Ice-T, they just it might be cliche, but they command the screen whenever they're in a scene. and you believe them.
Yeah.
You believe every word they say.
Like just
I think
the intensity between everybody too. Like everything just felt so real and raw. Like you wouldn't even think this was a movie. Like a lot of people just thought it was like a documentary about like crackheads and like the inner city crime and shit.
Yeah, I think people had said that to Chris Rock. Whatever, they thought he was like a real basehead. Like, I thought that was a documentary, dog. And like, no, that was a film.
Yeah, like I saw like the one interview he was saying like people would just come up to him on the streets after he did this and give him hugs and shit and be like, "Hey man, that was fucking great," blah blah blah. Then like he'd get like walking down the street and reach in his pocket, there'd be like a bag of coke or crack in his pocket.
Oh yeah, slipping little vials of crack or whatever. It's like, hey, they're trying to look out for you, Pookie. It's like,
right.
Come on, what the fuck?
Shit. I mean, he's really skinny and shit, but goddamn.
Yeah, for real. And then
CB4.
Oh man, another fun film. But yeah, yeah, Dead Mike.
Yeah,
well, straight out of Low Cash, baby.
Hell yeah, Gusto.
Crazy motherfucking name, Gusto.
All right, we're getting on top.
Fucking mom.
We'll talk about fucking.
Oh, fuck your mom because the bitch is a fat hoe or whatever.
Big ass.
Oh man, God. I gotta go back and watch that. That's a fun movie. Honestly, I'm not a big Chris Rock fan. He does a great job in this film.
Yeah.
But I liked him in this. I liked him in Lethal Weapon. There's a couple others, but
with cell phones.
I wasn't big. Like I've never been big on his stand up or anything like that. I don't know. It just.
I like his first two stand-ups. They're really good.
I don't know. He's fun. He does a good job and all that. It's just like I don't know. Maybe I'm just too fixed on like I came up with Richard Pryor and Eddie Murphy and and those are my people. So I don't know.
One other I heard that I guess Pookie was originally going to be Martin Lawrence.
Yeah,
another fucking stand-up icon, but that's whenever Robin Harris passed away. And they were real close on the comedic circuit, so he kind of bailed out because he was kind of fucked up. It just happened all of a sudden. Yeah,
I believe that was his mentor, in the business. So that really affected him big time. But I don't think I could see Martin Lawrence playing Pookie. Chris Rock has the build for it, and he delivered. Like we said, this was another breakout role kind of for him as well, because you only seen him in bit parts, the valet and Beverly Hills Cop and shit like that. So
it's like the first big shit he had since SNL. Like,
yeah, this was a chance for him to shine.
Yeah,
and he did. Yeah, don't overlook Chris Rock's performance in this movie.
Like everybody in this film did a great job.
And the back and forth between Judd Nelson and Ice-T. Judd Nelson, when I saw he was in this movie, I wasn't sure, but no, he did a really good job too.
You think so?
I think so.
I don't know, man. It like I know he's supposed to be the stereotypical white cop in the inner city.
Yeah.
It almost feels like MVP was like trying to throw him in as like a Mel Gibson type character. And I don't know.
Oh, he worked well with what he had.
He always came off to me like he didn't want to be there. Like, I don't know if that was the intent because like the character itself, Peretti doesn't want to be there. Essentially, it's like he's kind of thrown into this partnership, but it just seemed like the actor didn't want to be there.
So I saw that as acting. Did you see that as the person Judd Nelson didn't want to be there?
I felt like that was like art imitating life.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
I mean, even like the scene where they like jumping ahead a smidge when Pookie gets murdered, and then they're having that little heart to heart on the roof drinking and shit, and then like Judd Nelson's like, "I am Pookie, like I used to be a crackhead, blah blah blah," and all this shit. Like even like that kind of seems forced, and he still doesn't seem like he wants to be there.
I will say the only part I thought was weird and out of place was the part where Peretti opened fire in Ice-T's apartment
multiple
times.
Shooting you know, who knows what's on the other side of the wall? Another,
Yeah.
another apartment, you know, or even if it goes across the street, whatever. Oh, what's up, Melissa? But yeah, I don't know that character. I don't know. I don't know if what they were trying to do with that character, but I feel like Judd Nelson wasn't used to his potential in the film.
I mean, I've never been a huge fan of Judd Nelson, really.
Yeah, he was Hot Rod in the Transformers movie.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
You're not a Breakfast Club fan?
I mean,
I'm not neither. I never understood why that film was.
Seen Elmo's Fire?
No, I thought he was good in this movie though.
Any of that? Brat Pack. I mean, I don't know. He's okay. I like, for me, he didn't stand out at all. Like, if you took Peretti out of this film, it wouldn't change anything for me. You know, like I said, obviously Wesley Snipes, Nino Brown is front and center. You know, Scotty, Ice-T's character is another one of the main ones. But you know, like we said, this is T's first real film feature role, and you know, even him, I felt like he was struggling a little bit to kind of bring the character to life. You know, but T has that charisma. There's certain parts, like whenever T ends up joining up with Nino, and they're kind of on, you know, he's undercover and with him. That's such a weird thing. I'll get to that though. But whenever they were together, I was like, this is dope, because you see, you know, scenes where it's like Nino's in charge, and right there, Ice is like his right hand man, and I was like, I felt like they should have went in that direction more, and I feel like this film kind of goes all over the place. I don't know if there was another idea with the script that they wanted to do something different or what, but whenever they were on the same page, I liked that a lot more than T being the cop, you know. And I think that's because, you know, like we said, he's just naturally charismatic, and you know, he comes from that street background, so you know, he doesn't have to act when it comes to that shit. He's just like, you know, that's T.
Yeah, like whenever he's having that conversation in the pool about G Money's trying to make a side deal, and he's like, can't trust anybody, so you can trust me. I got your back.
Yeah.
Like, you believe that shit.
Yeah. Like, and I feel like that would have been a better story. I know we talked about The Departed last week, and I felt like if they would have, you know, looking back now, if they would have had Scotty kind of go undercover the way that Costigan did with Costello, I think that would have made it a more interesting film, at least from my perspective. There was a lot more you could do with this film, I think, but it was the early 90s. It was small budget. This was the highest grossing independent film of 1991. You know what I mean? So it's not like these guys are given a pile of money to just do whatever the fuck they want. But yeah, you could have done more, but you know, I think it still stands up no matter what. You know, it's just one of those ones, like you said, Chad. It comes across as so authentic and real that you know, you don't need all the Hollywood bullshit.
And I mean, it's a fairly long movie too, but it kind of plays out pretty decent because it's like you said, like it kind of goes everywhere. So it's almost like you're getting like 3 different stories in a way, because like it starts out the first half where like T's just like they're all just trying to bring down Nino and infiltrate his fucking organization, and then that shit goes fucking totally awry, and then they kind of get kicked off the case, and they just say fuck it, so they start kind of like freelancing it, and then they go undercover, and then it's like a whole different fucking movie.
Yeah, and because it's so weird. Like if you look at it, like I know we're jumping ahead, but the scene where Scotty and Peretti get introduced to G Money, and I'm sitting there and I'm like, because this was like just right after the whole Pookie thing, so you would think that these guys are going to be on high alert, like, you know, we ain't going to start no new partnerships or anything like that. But here are these 2 guys just showing up with a great business opportunity, and they look like you might as well just had a billboard said, "Hey, we're cops." You know, like they just stood out to me, especially Judd Nelson, who just standing there like, how do you not think this guy's a cop? Like, whatever. Right. But you have that scene where they're setting up the deal with G Money, and then you have the other scene afterwards where Scotty shows up at the basketball court or whatever. But then it just dives into all of a sudden Nino and Scotty are on the rooftop, like chilling, and then they're at the pool chilling, and like they just became best friends out of nowhere. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, what just happened? Like, how much time has gone by here? But then when it comes to the actual deal, we're like, okay, we need to get this on tape and everything like that. And then all of a sudden, Nino's never had his hands in anything. And all of a sudden everybody's at this drug deal. And Scotty shows up by himself and he's just got this briefcase full of money. I feel if you cut out all the stuff with Nino and Scotty, which is what I liked, but if you cut all that out and just do the scene where he meets up with G Money, the basketball court, and then you go straight to the drug deal, then that would make more sense. That kind of fits the timeline there, as opposed to all the stuff that just got to put in there. Because I'm like, oh, wait a minute, like I said, how are they like best friends all of a sudden? I don't think Scotty had even got them any drugs. We never saw them do any kind of drug deals. So it's like, what's going on here?
Well, when did he save his life from the old man? When did that happen?
That was right after that too.
Yeah.
After that?
Yeah.
Okay.
That was during the part where kind of like Scotty was like becoming best friends with him.
Yeah, like he was like almost like his head of security, and then he just became his like number two. And then and then you just don't really see anything about G Money except for he's just smoking crack all the time.
Yeah, he disappeared. But then you got like oh shoot.
But Nino did say he wanted, because T goes under the alias of Washington, so then he's like, I want Washington on me so I can keep eyes on this guy. So I mean, it kind of makes sense that he had him around so often, just because he was trying to get the vibe out, because he already knew G Money fucked up with fucking Pookie, and then he didn't trust G Money at all, and then like G Money was smoking crack, so his fucking whole persona and mind was out the window.
But like I said, like the whole shit with Pookie had just gone down. The Carter is done. So like these guys should be on high alert. And on top of that, you have that scene where they're up on the rooftop, Nino and Scotty, and Nino's talking about how, he had to prove his loyalty and go out and shoot some random person. It couldn't be another, gangbanger or anything like that. It had to be just like a straight up average Joe. And he tells a story about shooting a teacher, which we come to find out later ended up being Scotty's mom. Which, what are the odds of that? But that's neither here nor there. But I figured that was going to lead into like, okay, Scotty, or Washington, whatever, you're going to have to go out and kill somebody for me, to prove your loyalty. But that never really happened. You know what I mean? It was just kind of like he was there and he was the right-hand man with no real deep explanation or them showing like him doing something in order. I mean, we got the wedding scene, but other than that kind of came after the fact. But I don't know. If I had like high criticism, it would just be that where it gets kind of wonky there for a minute. And like I said,
the ideas are just jumbled around and shot, and they just kind of threw it in.
Yeah, it's like they had a longer story to tell, and they just didn't have enough time to tell it. So everything just kind of gets thrown together. And like we said, it only had like a $7-8 million budget, so maybe there wasn't just enough money there to do what they wanted to do. I don't know. But yeah, that would be like what my highest criticism would be, is that how the film just kind of bounces around every once in a while, and it's kind of whatever. But
I think they had budget issues. That's why they had to because I guess the one scene in the beginning when you first meet Scotty and Pookie, and then that was supposed to be a car chase scene, but they didn't have any more funds left, so they fucking improvised Pookie on the bike and then
had to use
Ice
the bike,
chasing him on foot.
And this is you bring that up. This has the '90s feel all over it. You watch this and you're like, this is definitely a '90s flick, and it's like Chris Rock is running. He's like a stick-up guy. He's just jacked Scotty for all that cash, and he's trying to get away. and he gets on this bike, and then all of a sudden he's doing like BMX tricks and shit. I was like, what? Like, oh, whatever. But yeah, going back to the beginning, yeah, we jumped all over the place. We're all over the place in this podcast, just like they were in the film. But no, starting
Lead
off
by example.
starting off that opening scene where you get like, you know, the music, Queen Latifah coming in there with the New Jack City, and that shot of New York, and that zoom all the way. You have it that following to all the way to the bridge, and that's where we first see Nino and Dunham holding the dude over the bridge. And that's I love that shot, man, because it looks so real. Like first they have to come, you know, because obviously it's on a helicopter. They have to come in, and it's just this long tracking shot. They're playing the intro and everything like that, and it gets to the bridge, and that dude's just hanging over there, you know. And so whatever stuntman was there, you know, I'm sure he was probably rigged in, but still, you're hanging upside down for how long, you know? So, but
Knight was a big fan of this film.
That's another thing, you know. Whenever I go back and watch this, especially, you know, years later, you can see kind of the comparisons. You know, this film came out in 91, and that's about the same time that Death Row Records was forming. And I always felt like if you took the Nino Brown character, because he was so influential to the black community, because, you know, this was like their Scarface.
Yes, I was going to say that he was like Tony Montana.
Yeah, and for a lot of black people, you know, it was something that was more realistic, because it's not like, you know, they even show, you know, Scarface in the film. You know, you can see that Nino is inspired by Tony Montana, and when you look back and you see like a younger black kid watching this, and they're like, hey, I want to emulate Nino the same way, or anybody for that matter, because it's like, you know, anytime you have somebody that kind of character, whether it be a Tony Montana or Nino Brown or Ric Flair or whoever comes across as the guy, the man that has all the money, all the jewels, all the women, woo, you know, that's like what people want to be. You know, I want to be that guy. And for black people, you know, you had, you know, you see all the MTV cribs where all these guys were influenced by Scarface and everything like that. You know, now you got Nino Brown, who's more realistic. You know, it's like you go back and you watch and you're sitting there like, oh man, I want to be like Tony Montana. But, you know, you don't relate as much to a Cuban refugee in Miami as you do to a black man in New York City. You know what I mean? So it's like for anybody in the inner city who watches this film, they're like, oh, I can relate to that more than anything, because it's like that's obtainable. I could be that guy, you know, and that's one of the things that made the crack epidemic kind of explode so much and so quick, was that, you know, it was just so easy to make and so cheap that, you know, anybody could do it. So it wasn't like, oh, you know, I had to be like some big coke dealer, you know, or whatever. I can just start making the crack, you know, and make money, and then I can work my way up, kind of like Nino Brown did. So I think for a lot of people that seemed like a more obtainable character than Scarface. But I don't even know where we're going. Where would I start with this? I got off on a tangent. But yeah, the Nino Brown character is iconic, you know. He was just so oh, that's what it was. We were talking about Death Row. So if you go back, and to me, if you took the charisma of Tupac Shakur, you know, Tupac, you know, is very similar to Wesley Snipes, because they both have that confidence, they both have that charisma. And, you know, if you take those parts of Tupac and you take the ruthlessness of Suge Knight and put them together, you got Nino Brown, in my opinion.
Right. Well, what's funny is, like, you bring up Tupac, but I was reading that it said Tupac auditioned for G Money's spot. They said he was too young looking compared to Snipes, so it wouldn't have looked right.
Right. And then what, like a year later, he's in Juice, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, it didn't take long for him to get on the scene either.
No. And then he banged out, like 5 movies in like a couple years?
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, you know, with this film being such a success, it opened the door for so many others.
Yeah.
And also, you said you had some things you wanted to say about Ice-T as well.
Man, there's so much you can say about Ice-T, man. This guy, he doesn't, in my opinion, he doesn't get the credit that he deserves, man. First off, he is one of the OGs of gangster rap. You know, you got Schoolie D, you got Ice-T, you got Just Ice. You know, there's several others that came along, but these are the guys that are first on the scene. You know, and like I said, he doesn't get. You know, he gets a lot of respect, but it's like I don't know. I feel like Snoop Dogg is kind of more acclaimed than Ice-T. I don't know. Maybe not. I mean, a lot of people know. Whenever a lot of people you talk about Ice-T, a lot of people are like, "Oh, SVU," and I'm like, "Man, you don't even know."
No,
you know what I mean? And
he was the original fucking rule breaker. Like he went against everything. I mean, he signed. He was what I think he was the only gangster rapper on Warner Brothers label.
Yeah.
So I mean, like he pushed the envelope for them. Like, and then whenever he kind of wanted to venture out and started doing body count, and then he kind of got put aside for a song he wrote.
Yeah.
But I mean, he was always that real rebel guy. Like everything he ever really sung about in the 80s, like was all real shit. Like 6 a.m, police at my door type shit. Like that shit happened.
That was my shit. You know, like I said, you know, whenever I got big into hip hop and I was going back and listening to this stuff from the late 80s and everything like that, you know, this is the kind of stuff that I would discover. You know, whenever I get Rhyme Pays and I'm playing that CD for the first time, and as soon as it comes on, you got the Tubular Bells from Exorcist. Yeah. You know, and I'm like, oh, I can fuck with this, you know what I mean? You know, and it just automatically, the first time I heard any Ice-T like that, I was like, this guy's dope, and I don't care. You know, so that had already made up my mind. But then it's like that first track, it bangs right into the 6 a.m. and it's like 6 a.m, police at my door, fresh to the squeak across my bathroom floor. And I'm like, man, you know, this is OG fucking hip hop, man. And it's the shit that I grew up with, and it's the shit I love. The stuff nowadays, man, don't get me started. But you know, it was such a different time, and it to me it was so much better. Like I said, these guys were telling stories that America and the world had never heard about before. You know, you would end up seeing like Rodney King stuff on TV and all that, but you know, guys like Ice-T, NWA, Biggie, you know, the list goes on and on. I could sit here all day and talk about hip hop, but these guys were telling exactly how it was. You know, they weren't pulling any punches. They're like, this is what we do. We're gangsters. We kill people. We rob people. We sell drugs, you know, because we have to.
Yeah. You know, affiliated just to fucking make sure they have protection.
Right. You know, it glamorizes, you know, this film is another one that glamorizes that kind of lifestyle, but it also shows the consequences of that lifestyle.
Yeah.
And you know, I think for a lot of people, you know, you overlook that because it's like, you know, you see, you know, Nino Brown getting all the money, getting all the power and all this, but you know, in the end, you know, it all catches up with you. You lose everything, you know, just like Scarface, man. Tony Montana lost everything, lost Manny, lost, you know, his wife, lost, you know, his life ultimately. And the same thing goes with Nino Brown. But yeah, Ice-T, man, this dude, he, oddly enough, I saw that he's the oldest living rapper that's still active in the business. So
wow.
It's crazy to think he's like 67 years old, something like that, I think.
Yeah.
And it wouldn't show because, you know, he like I said, he's a very cerebral dude. If you listen to any of his interviews, any of the testimony he gave to Congress back in the day, whenever they were talking about the body count stuff, and you know, the Reagans and their war, you know, the Bushes, their war with you know, hip hop and this cop killer, you know, Charleston Heston and all that. If you hear him, you know, speak, you know, you have all these guys from Congress talking about, you know, what's causing all these problems in the inner cities, and what's all this, and you have somebody like Ice-T sitting there, wearing his silk shirt and his perm or whatever, and he's like, look, you guys know what's causing all this, you don't care, and that was one of the big things about the crack epidemic, that why it affected so many inner cities and black communities more so than anywhere else, was because the people didn't care, the police didn't care. Not necessarily the communities didn't care, like you see in this film, where people are watching, but there's nothing they can do, especially when it comes to the Carter, the housing complex that Nino decides to take over for his drug operation. You have these people that are living in a low income neighborhood, and this drug dealer just decides to set up shop in their apartment complex. And it's like, what are you going to do? Like, if you try to challenge this guy, he might kill you. You don't have the money to just up and move. So you have to live through that shit. And the police and the upper class, they just didn't care. They were just like, as long as it's not coming into our communities, then it's not a problem. That's the way they looked at it. And it was so fucked up. And it's a part of history that kind of gets glossed over by a lot of people, but it's people like Ice-T and the hip hop rappers and the films like this that live on and kind of give that perspective, live that. I can sit here and talk about it and rattle off all this shit that I've heard, but I've never lived it, and I'm not going to pretend like I did. But like I said, whenever I was introduced to hip hop and I heard all these stories, it made me realize that there's a bigger world out there than what I knew. And if you think for whatever reason that they don't matter, they do matter, because it's a reflection of our society, and it's a reflection of that time in America. So this shit wasn't being told in history books. This shit wasn't being told in classrooms. And these guys were the teachers for America. And they were just kind of, vilified because of what they were doing. But they had to, because there was no other way. They weren't given the opportunities that other people were afforded. They were stuck in the neighborhoods that became war zones over drugs that the fucking government was funneling into this country to fund their wars. You know what I mean? So it's stuff that really hit me hard, and it still resonates with me as a human being. And like I said, as I chose this film was because I feel like even if you've never seen it before and you go back and watch it and you can't relate because maybe you didn't grow up during the crack epidemic or you didn't grow up in the inner city, listen to the stories. Listen, watch what's going on, and you can see what really happened. We're not making up stuff. We're not sugarcoating it for Hollywood. We're telling our stories. The communities, the culture is telling their story, and you gotta absorb that, take it in, and process that, and just kind of respect it and understand more about the world. And I think it'll open your eyes to a whole new thing.
I mean, they do kind of touch on it too, because like the old man goes to the police station and he's like, "How the fuck did you let someone, a drug dealer, overtake a whole apartment complex and under your nose and not do anything about it?"
Right.
Like, and then like there's
that was another
4 other tenants that are in there, like, and the cops just ignored the fucking dude.
And that was another scene where you see how ruthless Nino is, because he's just walking that guy that owns the Carter through the streets, butt ass naked, with that big ass gun right up to his throat, saying like, I'm taking this shit over, and if you don't, you're dead, motherfucker. And you
but
see
then also like
film.
at the end when Nino's testifying and shit, and then he's like, "I'm not the criminal." He's like, "You guys are the criminal." Like, he's like, "Because you don't care."
Yeah. You have him just parading that guy through the street, and nobody's doing anything. And it's not like cops are showing up to stop it. You know, and you see that in other films. You know, American Gangster is one that pops into my mind whenever Denzel's character gets up out of the, you know, he's having breakfast with his boys, and he gets up and walks over to that guy, that other guy that's, you know, one of the main guys in that Harlem neighborhood, and just shoots him point blank on the street, you know, in front of people, you know, and that's how it was, you know. Like the scene with Ika Mouse, who's playing that Rastafarian, and they come over and G Money's like, your services are no longer needed in the community, and Keisha's just like, blah, and just blows his brains out right there. And like, see, that's how you kill a man. You just blow his brains right there out in broad daylight, you know, on the street. Yeah, you know, and that's how it was. That's, and you think like it's somebody going back and watching that now, they're like, oh, that's just satire, that's just, you know, made up for the movie. Like, no, that was real. People were just walking up, killing motherfuckers, and getting away with it because
also to show how cocky fucking Nino was. Like, even everybody like that worked for him had his colors on and a big CMB. So like, I mean, they were advertised, like you knew they were in his gang, but the fucking nobody could do anything to him.
Yeah, the police aren't going to do anything. You know, they don't care.
Right. Like, I mean, everybody's like, they took over a Section 8 apartment building. Like, who gives a shit?
Yeah, and if anybody's interested, that Cash Money Brothers is kind of based off of a real life group called the Chambers Brothers that were up in Detroit. They took over an apartment building called the Broadmoor. And that's, they did this same exact thing where they were, you know, running their drug enterprise out of this place. So, you know, there's a whole documentary on the Chamber Brothers, you know, if you want to kind of dive deeper into that whole scenario of what happened and what kind of inspired the Cash Money Brothers. And you know, that's another thing that, you know, we talk about Nino being so influential. You know, Cash Money Brothers, you know, you can see it's handprints on all types of things. You know, Cash Money Records was founded like right after, you know, this film. You know, you got Ronald Slim Williams and you got Brian Baby Williams, you know, two brothers founding Cash Money Records down south. And you know, even, you know, they put on Lil Wayne, you know, Juvie, the Hot Boys, and I think, you know, Wayne even had albums called The Carter, you know. So you could see, you know, like I said, the influence of this film spans so many different parts of pop culture, even to this day.
So you're saying not a perfect film, but definitely an influential film that opened a lot of doors.
For sure.
I mean, it was very informative. It's just some of the story could be tightened up, but it's still fucking a great movie.
Well, yeah, that's the thing. You know, like we said, it's a very 90s film. You can go back and you can criticize, like MVP's first feature film. You crack up every time I say MVP. His first feature film and like the breakout for a number of people. And so you're not going to expect the goddamn masterpiece, right? You know, as far as acting goes, like, oh, this is going to completely school you on acting. This is going to be Casablanca or some shit. Like, no, like these guys are all learning. And so, you know, you're going to see how green some of these guys are. And, you know, that shouldn't matter, you know.
And not even was it a good film, like the fucking soundtrack.
Yeah.
Like it fucking killed. Like it has fucking everything on there. And then it was even in like the top 10 billboards, like for like soundtracks and shit. Like there was like 3 or 4 different songs that were on there. But I was kind of surprised that like the only song that's not on the soundtrack is the very first club song you hear with fucking Dougie Fresh and Slick Rick with The Show. And it's not even on the soundtrack, which is fucking baffles my mind. That song's
probably
dope
some
and
kind of
iconic. Like you just hear that, like the beat, and you know what the fuck it is.
Probably some kind of financial dispute. Like they didn't get paid what they wanted to.
Flavor Flav in there.
Oh yeah, Flavor Flav is as the DJ. I think he was even offered the role of Pookie at one point. Somebody said.
Really?
And yeah, and I think Chuck D talked him out of it, and he ended up just getting the DJ part. A fun fact, a lot of people don't know is, Flavor Flav is the DJ at that club, Club Spotlight, right? One of the scenes, if you look hard, it's very quick. Outside Club Spotlight, you see one of the bouncers messing with a dude like back behind the car. And if you pause it and you zoom in and you kind of look at it real close, that's Vin Diesel in New Jack City. Yeah. With his hair, he had a little fro going at the time. But
great dancing video.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Vin Diesel was a real bouncer at clubs in New York back in, for like 8 years or something like that. And he found his way into this film as an extra. He's just a background extra. And I think they ended up putting it on his IMDb after so many people pointed it out. But like a lot of people don't know, Vin Diesel is in New Jack City. Surprise.
Fuck that guy. Not a fan. And then his pacifier. No, that fucking going, like, I always wondered, like, I never saw like the prequel thing they did.
Oh yeah.
But I always kind of wondered like how the main three, which is Dada Man and then fucking G Money and then Nino, all got together, because G Money is the one who kind of introduces Nino to the crack, but then somehow the whole enterprise just turns into Nino's shit, and he's just like, the world is mine. Fucking, I want everything. And then he's the one making majority of the money. So to me, it was kind of fucked up relationship to jump, like, because they're always saying like, "Am I my brother's keeper?" And they're supposed to be family and shit. But then he just literally kind of just fucks everybody over in the long run. And
yeah, it happens quick because you have that scene where they're at the club and Nino's talking to G Money, and he's emphasizing, "Look, we got to look out for each other. We built this together, and I got your back, you got my back, and nothing's ever going to come between us." And then, like, literally the next scene, you have some skeezer stripper hoe that's coming in between them. like that was another thing. I'm like watching this, and I was like, I mean, she's a good looking woman and all, but like for somebody like Nino Brown that could have anything, this wasn't like supermodel chick or nothing like that. I'm like, why are they sweating this chick so hard? But
she was sexy.
She was sexy, but like, I ain't about to go to war over this. It was, for G Money, that wasn't even like his girl. That was just like some
side piece
that he had. But I don't know. I guess he just felt like, that was his thing. And
what did he say in the club? I forget. Fuck, man. Whenever he like Nino points her out, and he's like, I cracked them draws once, but I ain't really know her.
Yeah, like he wasn't like engaged to this broad or nothing. So no. I don't know why he was sweating her so hard, but they were just, I feel like they just kind of had to establish kind of the divide between him and Nino at some point, and had to do it like that. But like I said, if you would have switched it up and you would have done it instead of having the chick being the thing that split them apart at first, if you would have had Scotty go deep undercover, deep undercover, and been Nino's man, it's like, okay, I'm going to get in there and I'm going to be his right-hand man and everything like that. Then you could have told the story of Scotty kind of becoming, the partner of Nino, while G Money's getting pushed to the side. And it's like, now, it's like you have that scene where, like I said, him and G Money are like, like nothing can come between us. And all of a sudden you have Scotty come along as the right-hand man, and he comes between them. And then slowly G Money is getting pushed out of this whole operation that he built. And, that resentment and that jealousy comes into play to where, he starts smoking the crack and he starts slipping. And I felt like that would have been a better way to set that up rather than some chick that didn't really matter. I was like, really? But
I now pronounce us man and wife. As he hits the glass dick.
Yeah.
Keep calling it that.
That's what it's called.
Yeah, Alan, another breakout role, Alan Payne, A lot of people, I think at the time it was Lance on the Cosby Show.
Yeah.
A lot of people knew him as that. And like we said, he was Dead Mike and CB4, Vampire in Brooklyn. He'd done a number of films after that. But he does a good job for the part.
House of Pain.
It just, Jason's lyric. I don't know. Like I said, I would have rather seen Ice-T be the guy that was Nino's boy, because it starts out where G Money seems pretty down and hard, but he gets soft pretty quick. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I mean, he's the one that's overseeing everything at the Carter too. Like Nino don't do shit.
Yeah.
So I mean, you can kind of feel like how he seems like kind of neglected and embarrassed because Nino just talks down to him all the time, even though they're in it together.
Yeah, because anytime
even Keisha was there from the beginning of the jump.
Keisha, man, she cracks me up. Rockabye baby. Oh man, whenever the old dude shows up in the house or the building, and like Nino's sitting there talking to the kids and everything like that, and
sitting there with the fucking preacher.
Yeah, she's like, let me pop this old fool. Keisha was down, man. She was ride or die, and
she was hard.
She ended up dying, but
she was pretty dope.
Yeah, shout out Vanessa Williams, man, another breakout role.
I saw Vivica A. Fox actually auditioned for her and Celine's part. Wesley Snipes' girlfriend or whatever.
Yep.
Which would have been totally different. I think I liked it the way it was.
Yeah, but no, Vanessa Williams does a great job in this film. And anybody know Candyman? She was Anne Marie in that one. So
yeah,
and she's done a ton of films as well. Soul Food, whatever. So another film that was the launching pad for a great career.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely opened the doors for fucking everybody in this film.
Yep. You talked about the Dutta Man, Bill Nunn. He's been in so much shit. R.I.P. He passed away back in 2016. But it doesn't have much. It's not really a speaking role because of his stutter. He's the Dutta Man. He's stuttering the whole time. So he gets a few bits here and there, but he's the muscle for Nino, and I think anytime he's on screen, he stands out. He's just got that look to him where he's like, yeah, he's a menacing dude, and it's funny because he looks menacing with Nino there, but then as soon as he opens his mouth, they're clowning on him. You know what I mean? So
you're a pure unadulterated.
Yeah. So yeah, man. So they're the only ones that can clown on him. Anybody else from the streets try to fuck with the Dutta Man, they get dropped off a bridge, man.
Rockabye baby.
For real.
Lullaby his ass.
And that 90, you talked about the soundtrack. That 90s soundtrack was slapping, man.
Yeah.
And that was, like I said, that was when hip hop was real, man. Fucking, you got Queen Latifah, you got Guy, you got 2 Live Crew, you got Ice-T, Keith Sweat, Color Me Bad. So many great
That's the
things
thing too. Like back then, back then, like it was all about just going to the club, having a good time, and dancing and shit.
Yeah,
like all the beefs were like left at the door for the most part. Had fun.
It was about the music and not about the image.
Yeah, And then now you go to the club and shit, like everybody's just standing around, just staring at each other with meme mugs.
Yeah,
waiting for shit to pop off.
Yeah, so man, it's such a good soundtrack, man. These young kids, man, they don't know.
No, I mean, there's a couple people in there I don't really care for, but I mean, for the most part, good shit.
You got
one thing I did like a lot too was like the transition from whenever they're talking about taking over the Carter, and then you have the who was that? Well, the street singers singing by the fire. And then it kind of transitions from them singing there, and then as the song progresses, as they're like making their moves and getting more organized and about to take over everything, then it like by the end of the song they transition to where like they own the Carter.
Yeah.
So like that I thought that was pretty dope how they just kind of like, time had went by.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Like they didn't have to put up like a sign like 2 years later or whatever the fuck. It was just, you just knew.
Yeah, we went through Christmas and New Year's and
Yeah.
all that.
Like you see them making moves, fucking killing everybody. Just crazy shit.
Yeah, the movie definitely moves fast. I mean, what was it? Was it an hour and 40 minutes or something? It wasn't even 2 hours, was it?
No.
No.
Like I said, I guess it's a little long somewhat. Just because just the jumping around, it seems long, I think. But it plays out real well. Like I don't know, like I've seen this movie, I couldn't tell you how many fucking times. Like I have it on DVD somewhere. But I don't know where all my DVDs are at.
Your boy Timok wanted to be Scotty. He was lobbying pretty hard to be Scotty.
Yeah,
that would have been interesting.
Gotta love some Timok.
And you know, if you're a wrestling fan, remember ECW.
MVP?
Oh yeah,
you're stuck on this MVP shit. If you remember ECW, there was a wrestler by the name of New Jack.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. And you know, that's where this character came from.
Who actually came out to an Ice-T song.
Yeah, he said he got his ring name
Ice
from
Cube.
New Jack City.
Oh yeah, it was Ice Cube.
Yeah, Natural Born Killers.
Yeah.
So yeah, he got his name from this film. So another influence in the wrestling world. So like I said, this affected so many people in so many different ways. And
he was a crackhead.
Whoa.
And it's allegedly.
And so many great lines. You know, we haven't touched on all the scenes or anything like that. But you know, like we said, Nino stands out all the time. You know, I sit your $5 ass down before I make change. You know, I think that's got to be the one everybody remembers.
Well, all the kids were saying "See you, want to be you" all the time. See you, wouldn't want to be you.
Wouldn't want to be you. You know,
yeah.
I think that was just something he threw in there because that was a popular saying. But
Well, yeah, all the kids used to say that though.
But yeah, I had never heard anybody say "sit your $5 ass down" before I make change.
I mean, not when I was a kid.
No.
You know, he's got that cold shit. Or like whenever his girlfriend is finally like tripping out on him, and she's like, "You've killed so many people," and she's like freaking out or whatever, and he just throws her down on the table and pours the champagne on her. And he's like, "Cancel that, bitch! I'll just buy another one." That's some cold shit, man. He's like, he don't give a fuck. And Mario MVP. I almost said Mario Van Peebles. I can't do that. MVP worked on. Do you ever watch that Wu-Tang docuseries they did?
Yeah,
I think it was,
the Micah Men one.
I don't know. Was it on Amazon? I can't remember what it was on.
I think it was on Amazon.
Anyway, MVP was directing, and there was a story that Method Man had told where that scene. The actress that was playing the girlfriend, what's her name? Michael Michelle. She was just not delivering the way that Mario Van Peebles wanted her to. He was like, you know, she was coming across as like a soap opera actress, and he wanted something more authentic. So he pulled Wesley Snipes aside and said to him, like, "Hey, you know, I need you to do something that's going to get me a authentic reaction." And so whenever he goes back and does that take, and he slams her on the table and pours that champagne, that was just all improvised, you know. And then he got the real reaction of her being like super pissed, like I hate you, and she's just like popping off. And so yeah, that, you know, Method Man tells that story. You know, that whole part there was improvised, him pouring that champagne on her or whatever. But you know, just another cold scene from Nino Brown, man. Fuck, what a good character.
I always liked whenever you see Pookie underneath like the subway or whatever the fuck he is with that chick, and then like she's like freaking out because she wants some rock, and he's like, "You went from being she's like, I used to be the prom queen." He's like, "Now you ain't nothing but a prom fiend."
Yeah,
that shit always cracks me up.
So good, man. And he looks so messed up whenever you see him, like, you know, in the beginning of the film, and then once he becomes, you know, addicted, you know, you see like whenever he comes up for like the food and everything like that, and he's talking to Nino, his teeth are all fucked up and everything like that.
You get a job, man.
Yeah, and then he goes through. You have that whole montage of him, you know, when Scotty finally takes pity on him and wants to help him get clean. You have that whole montage, and finally Pookie gets clean, wants to go undercover, wants to shut Nino Brown down, and Scotty. Scotty, descends.
What happens when you put a crackhead around crack?
Yeah, a recovering crack addict.
It.
Yeah, you put him in that situation, man, it's not going to go well. But Pookie, he owed a lot of people. Like Scotty said, you owe me, you owe my mom, you owe my grandmother, you owe everybody. You owe a huge debt.
See, I love that whole little montage too, because it just shows you how much of a class act that Scotty is and how much he actually cares about his community. Like he's fucking going out of his way, letting this fucking dude live in his house and shit, making sure he goes to his meetings.
Yeah,
fucking stays clean. Like he's fucking sitting there having withdrawal, fucking shaking and sweating and everything. He like puts a blanket on him and shit, and just sits in his bed with him.
Yeah, and there was another scene where Scotty's standing there at the fence watching the kids, at school, and then you see just all the crack vials there laying there in the ground in the water or whatever, and it just illustrated how much that character wanted to do things and make a change in his community, and how helpless they all were. He was in a position of power. He was an actual cop that could do something, and even being in the system, he was restrained by what he could do. Ultimately, all the politics and all that shit, ultimately they had to go rogue in order to kind of even infiltrate this. And they're like, okay, and now it's on. And then ultimately, after all that, after all the people that have been killed, everything they went through, Nino goes to trial and he flips. He's a rat, just like fucking everybody in The Departed. And
I go down taking everybody with me.
Yep, taking everybody with me. Ms. Hawkins. But
then he got like 2 years.
No, he got 1 year.
1 year.
1 year.
Possibility parole after 12 months.
Okay.
Well, it was like 3 years and he had to do 1 or something.
Yeah.
Oh, because he fucking admitted to a lesser charge.
And it's funny how that kind of plays out, because it's like you're on trial and you're just sitting up on like they didn't even do any investigating. He's just like, oh yeah, it was that smart brother from the bank, that well-educated brother from the bank.
What the fuck was his name?
Oh shoot.
K, right?
Oh, Kareem
Akbar.
Yep, played by Christopher Williams. So he just like immediately sells him out. Like on the spot. Like, first off, what is Kareem even doing in that courtroom? Like, I would have been.
Yeah, I wouldn't be anywhere near that shit.
But he's in the courtroom, and then Nino just is like, okay, yeah, he's the head of the CMB, and they're like, oh, okay,
here's my dime.
But like they didn't even like try to get any facts. Like, oh, okay, we'll just take your testimony.
Take him away.
Yeah, we'll take your word for it.
Yeah, we'll take your word for it and immediately cut you a deal. It's like, what?
Well, I always like how they're trying to figure out where Nino's house is, and then the one kid like dimes him out, and he's like, he's upstairs, whatever. And he's like, he set my friend Chris on fire. So then like they fucking sneak in there and beat the shit out of him. But then like fucking they're fighting on the balcony, and then down in like there's a bunch of trash on the street, and Judd's like, send him down to me. And he just fucking just throws him off the fucking ledge.
Throw him down to me. Boom.
And he jumps down and starts beating the shit out of him. Yeah. And he's like, I want to kill you so bad. My dick's hard.
And every time I see that scene, I'm glad you mentioned that. Every time I see that scene, what pops into my head, I'm like, okay, who did it better? Was it Ice-T or was it Jack Nicholson? They both, Jack's got this silky Kangol looking thing going.
Yeah, he's got the silky purple shower cap.
Yeah. So who did it better? That's an audience you pick. But no, that's the thing always pops in my head whenever I see that. I'm like, oh, that reminds me of Jack Nicholson and Batman. But I wanted to, like I told Chad earlier, I wish I don't have a Kangol hat. I don't got the big dookie chain, so I had to bust out my cheap chains, looking like a broke ass fucking whatever. But
looking like an Alabama pimp.
Yeah, man. But such an iconic film. You know, it might not be some kind of film masterpiece like we talked about, but it's so influential.
Yeah.
It inspired so many people. You know, like we said, Cash Money Records. You know, wrestling. It just goes on and on. You know, just like Scarface did. You know, that kind of influence. It had that same effect on people. You know, especially in black neighborhoods and inner cities where they're like they could relate to that sort of thing. You know, I could be, you know, not that you wanted, there was people that wanted to be that, but, you know, ultimately, you know, do you want to be that? You know, when you get that, we talked about the trial, and then you finally have Bill Cobbs showing up after the trial. Nino gets off, and man, it's such a, you know, first off, how does he get a gun in the courthouse? But, you know, whatever. That's neither here nor there. But he comes up them steps, and he's like, "Adulterer, your soul is required in hell."
That's a great line, actually.
What's even better is never fucking like Judd Nelson puts his sunglasses on and smiles.
Yeah, it's like justice served.
Yeah.
But you know that you know after that happens, you get that afterthought where it's like, okay, you killed. You know, on especially you go like another thing we kind of skipped over was the wedding scene where. We didn't even talk about the Italian mafia, you know, getting involved and trying to take Nino down. But yeah, you have the Italians.
Talking about the most valuable peoples.
Yeah, the Italians show up, and fucking Nino pulls a fucking Martin Sheen from Dead Zone and decides to use a little kid as a human shield. And Keisha gets shot up or whatever, and then Nino's hiding back behind the thing. And Scotty has that opportunity.
Yeah, like I don't know why he didn't.
Because he wanted
so
to do
easy.
He wanted to do it the right way. Here, you know, he knew deep down. It's like no matter how bad he wanted to kill Nino, he knew deep down. It's like, okay, if I cap Nino right here, then there's just going to be a new Nino tomorrow, and I just got to start all over again.
Yeah,
and it's like I got to do this the right way. I got to bring him in and make an example of him or whatever. But the system was so flawed, and it still is, that, you know, that doesn't work either. So, like I said, at the end, it even explains how there's hundreds of Nino Browns out there, maybe thousands of Nino Browns out there. So he even says, you know, it's not me, it's you. You know, he's just a spoke in the wheel. You know what I mean? He's just he's just another cog in the machine. And ultimately, it's a futile attempt. You know, you want, you know, like we said, Scotty wants to do something for his community. He wants to turn it around, and it's never going to be enough in that regard, unless, you know, people start opening their eyes and saying, look, this change needs to happen. It doesn't matter if it's in a white community or a black community. We need to do something because this is unacceptable.
Yeah. Yeah, that whole scene though, like you always knew like the Italians were going to retaliate.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Because I mean, they come in there and give him that fucked up statue, and then he cuts his ponytail. He cuts his ponytail off. So you already knew there was going to be some kind of retaliation.
Yeah, Frankie Needles, played by Anthony DeSando, and then Don Armateo, played by John Apria. You know, and especially, you know, even after the fact, you know, it's like Nino sells everybody out at the end, and he knows he's going to get out. Ultimately, that he would have probably got killed in prison.
Oh yeah,
you know, he goes in for 12 months, especially because they took out that mafia group. Like I don't know how many they took out, just sitting out there on the street. Yeah, you know, whenever they did the drive-by,
at least like 8 of them out there.
The news report in the movie said it was 10, but I didn't think there were that many sitting there.
Yeah, so I mean, you just killed a made man. You know, you think you're going to get away with that, man? You've seen Goodfellas. Ain't going to happen. Nicky Santoro, fucking, going to get his in the end. No, but
you'll be eating linguine and tomato sauce or ketchup.
Oh man. So yeah, ultimately he would have paid the price, but it was so dope to kind of see the old man Bill Cobbs, you know, be the one, because he tried to kill him earlier.
Yeah.
You know, he was this old cat in the community who was like, you know, I'm sick of this. I'm sick of seeing you poison our people, you know, just for you, the benefit of your pocket. You know,
I mean, he showed up in all three sections of the movie.
Yeah.
All 3X.
Yeah.
He was the one that tried to do something.
Yeah, always. Like he was tired
And
of his shit at the police station, like in the jump in the beginning, and then he tries to kill Nino in the second act, and then third, game over.
He tried to do it the right way by going to the police, and the police literally, like that
They
guy
ignored the
holding
shit
the
out of
files,
him.
just turned his back on him. And
Don't
kept
you
walking.
walk away from me.
Yeah.
Then in the end, he had, he did take justice into his own hands.
Yeah.
And shot Nino.
The most valuable people was arrested him.
It's true. But yeah, man, such a prolific film. One of the ones that brought to light the crack epidemic on the Hollywood screen. The crack epidemic, you know, like I said, if you didn't live through it, you know, you have the opioid crisis going on right now, but it was different. Like whenever the Carter or whatever, and it looked like a literal war zone. It's just like, it's so fucked up to think that there was places in America that are like that. And there's places in America that are so downtrodden and neglected. And there's people in this country that suffer just because of dumb shit, of ignorance, you know, racism or whatever it might be.
Still exist.
You know, and like Nino said, you know, he's just another cog in the machine, and ultimately it went all the way up the chain. You know, this is how it was in the 80s, you know, with Reagan, you know, the Iran Contra affair. I don't know how much you guys remember. You know, that was Reagan's administration who was selling guns to Iran, even though there was a trade embargo where Iran couldn't be buying arms from people, you know, but then they tried to play it off as like, oh, we're going to give you these guns in trade for a hostage, like the case. You know, it was these guys that were in the Reagan administration who were trying to sell these guns and fund the Contras, who were a rebel group down in Nicaragua, who were fighting the Sandinistas. The Sandinistas were running Nicaragua, and Reagan was like, you know, these guys are a threat to the U.S. border, and we got to stop them. So they were secretly funding this war because Congress wouldn't allow it. They're like, you know, we're not going to give money to fund a war in another country. So they had to find loopholes to get around it. And that's what the Iran Contra affair was about, was, you know, them trying to find a way to fund this war down in rebels could take over. They could overthrow. And, you know, once that all went shit, you know, the CIA, you know, I guess there's proof, but, you know, a lot of people debate on whether or not the CIA was involved. But the CIA, if the CIA didn't know what was going on with the and all these countries that were funneling in cocaine, then, you know, they shouldn't have had jobs, because, you know, they were turning a blind eye to it, allowing this drug trade to happen to you know, Miami, Atlanta, New York, major cities that were getting shipments and shipments of cocaine, you know, and not being stopped. You know, it was allowed to happen. And, you know, there was so much cocaine coming in that it became to where there was no profit for these drug dealers, you know, and they had to find a way to start making more money. And then they started cutting cocaine. You know, for those who don't know what crack cocaine is, it's just a more inexpensive way to make, you know, to use
more money.
To make cocaine. You know, you take cocaine and you cut it with like ammonia and baking soda, and it crystallizes into a rock. And whenever you smoke it, it makes that crackling sound, and that's why it was called crack. So, and it was so inexpensive to make, and it was, like we said, it was so cheap that, you know, cocaine was always viewed as a high-end, top-shelf drug. You know, you had to pay big money to get cocaine at one point. And for crack, you know, you could get like a bag of crack for like $2.50. You know, so when you introduce that to these low income communities and get these people addicted to this drug, that like we said, it just spread like wildfire, man. And it was such a shame. And ultimately, you know, everybody wants to credit, well, not everybody, but a lot of people want to credit Nancy Reagan and just say to no to drugs and the DARE program and all this, and to being the thing that ended up stopping the crack epidemic. But, you know, ultimately it was a trial and error type thing. I think a lot of people saw how destructive crack was, and they ultimately made the choice, like, that's not how I want to be. You know, I don't want to be like those people. You know, everybody, you know, has their problems in life, and some people, you know, they choose to drink. Some people choose to do whatever your drug of choice may be, or drug of choice may not be. Ultimately, most people decided to go with, you know, in a different direction. You know, it was like, you know, you look at like the Chronic and stuff like that, you know, Snoop and Dre and all these guys, they were all talking about weed. They're not talking about smoking crack. They're like, no,
right.
we ain't gonna be smoking no crack. We're smoking weed. This is natural. This is a plant, you know, and it gets us high and makes us feel good in a natural way. So I think ultimately it was a trial and error thing where people saw how destructive it was to not only human beings but communities, and said, look, that's not for us. And that's kind of what made that epidemic go away. You know, obviously, you know, other things have taken its place over the years. Now it's like big pharma peddling opioids and getting everybody fucked up on that, but that's a whole different freaking story. But yeah, man, it was just a sad time. And like I said, this film was one of the early ones that shined a spotlight on what was going on in these communities, and kept it real. So you got that depiction of what was going on, for even if you were in some little podunk town in America, you could go and watch New Jack City and realize, hey man, there's some fucked up shit going on in our country, and you know, this ain't right. So like I said, very influential, very informative, very thought-provoking, and you know, and on top of that, as far as film goes, such a influential film for the careers of so many people.
Yeah, I think this film and others after it did more to educate people and did more for the, I hate to say war on drugs, but did more for that than the administration did.
That's for sure, man. You know, we
didn't need the DARE program or any of that until like films like this showed the reality of it, showed the consequences of it.
Yeah. So
whether you're a user or dealer or whatever.
It's like we said, it plays out like a documentary.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think, you know, if a lot of these communities in America would have, you know, showed these films in class instead of, you know, a DARE,
instead of Reefer Madness and shit, instead of the movies we watched.
Yeah, just silly stuff.
Sound of Music and shit.
Yeah. Oh God.
You know,
Sound of Music made me want to use. I hate that movie.
Time to go smell some burnt plastic and get the womp womps.
Yeah. So yeah, a more serious film.
Mm-hmm.
Very, very deep. Man, I don't even know.
Yeah, we still have fun though. I think still try to have fun, have a good conversation.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those movies that is definitely, like, if you go back and look at all of our episodes, it's definitely one of the ones that are kind of like out of a different element.
It meant a lot to me. You know, I'm not acting like it's the greatest film of all time, but
no, I mean, I love this movie.
It's definitely, like I said, a screenshot of what was going on in the early 90s and the epidemic that we were facing through the 80s into the 90s, and how it affected those communities. So, you know, some people live to fight another day, and some people fight to live another day.
Yeah.
Well said. I think we should end on that. New Jack City. Yeah, like I don't think there's anything more that needs to be said. One of the most influential movies during that time, the early '90s. Great cast that went on to do even bigger and better things afterwards. And a classic soundtrack.
Yeah, I mean, you said the budget was $8 million.
Yep.
So then they always talked about making the sequel with Wesley Snipes.
Oh yeah, I forgot about
But
that.
he did Demolition Man, and he got paid $7 million for that. So he
that was they got the whole budget.
So this movie fucking put him on top.
Yeah, it sent him in the stratosphere, man. And like Wesley Snipes is such a natural, dude. Like, yeah, Chuck Nasty, I don't think is as much of a fan of Wesley Snipes. But I think whenever Chuck hates on Wesley, whenever Chuck hates on Wesley Snipes, I think it's because Wesley Snipes comes across as that cocky, arrogant guy, and that's the type of guy that Chuck doesn't like. So I think that's why Chuck hates on Wesley Snipes so much. But that's part of his appeal for a lot of people. It's that charisma. Same thing with Ice-T, man. These cats are so real and charismatic, man. I like I said, I can't say enough good things about Ice-T. He's such a real dude. Go back. If you've never listened to Ice-T's music, you might not think it's the greatest hip hop of all time, but it was shit that paved the way for everybody. For everybody. If you ask Dr. Dre who started gangster rap, he's gonna say motherfucking Ice-T. You know what I mean? This guy, so good in so many ways, and not just a lyricist, but he's a good actor. He's like I said, he could have been. Whenever we think of philosophers, we think of all these old white dudes back in the day. They were sitting there, Socrates sitting there in their robes and then just spitting knowledge, dropping knowledge on people. This is like a modern day philosopher. I invite people to go and look at interviews with Ice-T and just see, how well thought, how well spoken he is, and just he's just so smart. You talk about Nino Brown being a smart character. Ice-T is such a smart guy, and he looks at everything. He does, there's no fake. You're gonna, anytime Ice-T talks, you're not gonna be like, oh, that guy's full of shit. He cuts to the chase. He just, like I said, he keeps everything 100% real, and I can't put that guy over enough. And this might not be his greatest role of all time, but like I said, it was the one that got him started, and that was the breakout role. So and another thing a lot of people don't know, Ice-T is the one who did 99 Problems. So if you're listening to Jay-Z and you're like 99 Problems, that track is banging. Rick Rubin did a good job of bringing Ice-T's track and putting it on for Jay-Z. But if you go back to what was it, the Home Invasion album, 99 Problems on there, same old hook and everything like that. So there was a lot of people that were hating, saying like, "Oh, Jay-Z stole that shit." But even Ice-T says like, "No, he didn't steal it, man. It was like he used it, but back then T had a publishing deal, so it was within his right. But if you want to give anybody credit, it would have been Ice-T for that song, and you got to give Ice-T credit for so much in the hip hop world. So, mad respect to Ice-T, man, and it is especially Body Counts. Man, I remember seeing Body Count like years and years ago, man, and it was such a fun show. T's out on stage, man, and he brings Coco out. I still got this picture. I wish I could show it on here, but he brings Coco out on stage with him, right? And he just pulls her titties out right there on the stage. And I got this picture of him. He grabs one of her titties and he just like, I got the picture of him, his face just buried in her titty. And it was so funny, man. But like,
You got skim milk in them titties?
yeah. oh, Pookie, man. But yeah, man. I want to make sure I gave Ice-T his props because I didn't get to.
Yeah, he's the man. Like I said, like we should do an episode of like fucking introductory types to hip hop, but I think you and I would be the only ones talking.
Yeah. Dave, not a big hip hop guy. That's all right, Dave.
Well, maybe you guys can educate me.
Dave's like, it's hammer time.
Well, this was your first time you saw it, right, Dave?
No, I rented it when it came out, probably in 92-ish.
You probably watched it with me somewhere along the line.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I think I want. I mean, unless I did watch it with you one.
I mean, this is like seriously, this is probably one of the first DVDs I bought way back in the day. Whenever them shit's. I mean, it was like I said, it was like it's the cardboard case, a little fucking plastic tab lock, fucking bullshit, generic fucking case.
No, that was probably early 2000s.
Yeah, like
maybe even late 90s. Maybe.
As soon as I saw that movie, I was like,
mine.
All right. Well, we run long, but New Jack City, man, a hood classic, pivotal film for the black community and for America, in my opinion. Definitely check it out.
Yeah.
Clerks recommend. Well, my stomach's growling, so that means it's time to go to our random clip of the week. This is where we pick a random clip from a random movie and we see what happens. What could it be? Please don't kick us off the internet.
What is it?
You blew my cover!
What the fuck is going on here? You can't do a simple goddamn double implant.
It's not my fault we hit a memory cap.
They'll be here any minute. They killed you all.
What the hell is he talking about?
Oh, no!
Let me go!
Mr. Quaid, try to calm down.
My name is not Quaid. You untie me
Hurry,
now!
grab his leg!
Untie me!
Hold it down,
Let me go!
We're getting hit for that for sure.
Come on, Dave, man. You got to tell the random clip generator to cut these clips down so YouTube don't come after our ass.
If there's anything that fucks us, it's the music in the beginning. For like 3 to 5 seconds we play a song, we get hit.
Yeah, man, they'll find that music real quick.
Yeah. Well, before we go, we got some ads to play so we can make money. Thank you.
We'll make money.
Hey everybody, Laser Trading Company is on YouTube. See some of the videos from Mike's travels and experiences. If you haven't already, please head over and subscribe. 7,800 and growing. Thank you all. Laser Trading Company is also available on eBay with various merchandise and collectibles. Hundreds of great gift ideas. That's Laser Trading Company. Laser Trading Company. Laser Trading Company. You know him from Bastard Sons of a Judas Goat, Nasty Nation, Graveyard Talk, and the Video Store Clerks Podcast. He is the creator of Stoner Gore, Jack Nasty! And if you're looking for the latest in extreme horror, head over to Amazon.com, look up Chuck Nasty, and the following titles are available. Along with the latest album, Decay of Man, from Bastard Sons of a Judas Goat, available on Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube now.
Now, following up with your ad, Mike, I just want to say congratulations for hitting 8,000 subscribers on Laser Trading Company YouTube channel.
Yeah, man. It's not, a huge number in the big scheme of things. I'm not no Mr. Beast or anything like that, but 8,000 subscribers. I love that. It's so dope to have so many people showing us so much love and support, and I can't thank people enough. You know what I mean? I know I clown around a lot, but that shit means the world to me. So thank you all.
Nice. All right. But next week, oh boy,
a milestone.
Yes.
Episode 150.
150. What are we doing for 150?
4 years going strong, episode 150. We're going to have fun. We like to have fun on our we like to have fun every day, but also on like our pinnacle episodes. So since we're hitting 150 and it means a lot, we're going to go and have some fun with the Super Troopers.
Yeah, man.
Broken Lizard Breakout. Well, I guess not technically Breakout, but their first big film.
The biggest hit, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, Super Troopers. This is what put Broken Lizard on the map. This is a comedy classic, in my opinion, one of my favorite comedies of all time. Such a good flick. We're gonna get into it next week, and I can't wait to deal with that, bear fucker.
Yeah, so you guys go out there, rewatch that, and then next Tuesday at 10 p.m. join us and get your liter of cola. And
That's right.
We'll have some fun.
That's right. Put on your mustache and have some fun.
That's it. All right. And Chuck Nasty will be back with us next week. Episode 150, Super Troopers. Join us then. Please don't forget to like and subscribe and share our videos with the world. Until then, we are your clerks, and we shall see you next Tuesday.
Scotty, they're going to kill me!